moment. I'm going to start recording and then I'm going to try to stop it for just a second and see. I don't want to really stop it. Let me try that again. I think decide that we are a thing, an ism, because I think it blinds us once we take that on from the truth in its many forms, in its infinite manifestations, one might say. And so just know that as you are here with us practicing, that there is no belief system, one versus another, that is being espoused or that is required to believe in. I have to say that every once in a while. I think it's a danger more than it is a benefit. I trust your truth, and I'm going to count on you to pay attention, to set the intention to see it clearly and to live it well. And I think from that directly, there will be, it will be a good and peaceable world. So that's what we're going to do. So I don't know how many of us are here now. I'm going to do a little check on that. I'm looking off to this side because I have a little bigger screen there. Okay. So I think we've got the group that we're going to mostly collect for the morning. So this is how I thought we might do it. I'm going to be looking this way. So I'm going to push this over here. We're going to come off mute and we're going to take a moment. I'll strike the bell and we will just take a moment to read, for example, the first paragraph silently, only because every voice has its inflection and every voice has its resonance. And I want yours to come through, not the readers. And then I'll strike the bell again. And then you're going to go back to the beginning of that paragraph, reading silently again, and we're going to let the voices then resonate with what happens that is striking. So as I'm just looking at this first paragraph, the word ordinary is striking me. I would say that word out loud, ordinary. Peculiar actually is striking me as well. I might use the word peculiar. And then we're going to keep reading, and then we'll give it just a minute. We'll tap, and then we'll read the next paragraph silently. We'll resonate. We'll see what words come forward, and we'll see how this goes. Let's give it a try. Let's give it a try. Insight dialogue process. The value of the insight dialogue is the words that you're resonating with and the words that the other is resonating with form their own symphony, form their own rhythm, their own process. And Gregory Kramer himself, a Buddhist teacher, was also my brain just went dead. He wrote music, composer. He was a composer before he gave that up for the Buddhist path. And that resonance, that sounding, that presence for him was always something quite striking. So let's see what kind of symphony we end up creating. Could everybody come off mute? If you're muted now, come off of mute. I'm going to check just to make sure you're all there. And I want to make sure that if you're off mute, you don't have the TV on in the background. You're not chewing, because that will, by accident, invite a kind of disruption. I'm assuming if you are still on mute, you're on mute appropriately, meaning that there is noise in your background. There is either conversation or TV's on or whatever. So we're going to begin this process and then we'll sit and then we'll have a little conversation about that. So here we are. I hope everyone can see this. It begins with Sarah. We will be reading somewhat quickly. Remember, it's silently. We are not reading this out loud. I'll tap the bell, meaning that's the end of the silent reading. And then we're just going to begin offering that resonance and letting that happen for about 30 seconds. And then we'll move on to the next paragraph. Okay, so establishing ourselves for the practice. Getting a little bit still. Knowing that every time you touch your keyboard, we're going to hear you. So get yourself set up there. We're just finding the body, locating the breath, settling the mind. Finding a little bit of stillness. Letting the breath be the cradle, the refuge, and settling in. And then when you're ready, we're going to turn that stillness towards that writing, beginning with Sarah. We're going to take just about 20 seconds to look over that. We're not really reading for understanding. We're just looking at what is words jump out, what is resonant. I'm going to tap. And then we're going to offer the words one at a time as best we can. And I'm going to start just to give the offering, and then we'll just continue for a moment. I'll tap the bell again after about 20 more seconds and we'll go on. Covert. Offering.
Peculiar. Glad.
Neighborhood. Welcome.
Stay.
Welcome.
I'm not going.
God.
Baby.
Witnesses.
Long
Salesman.
way.
No.
God.
Why?
Invites.
Old fashioned.
Taking a moment, reading the second paragraph. Dropped in.
Can you move it up?
Likely.
Strangers.
Asleep.
Too good to be true.
More than ever.
Relate.
Feel.
Fear. A cup.
I feel like.
Overlooked.
Loud.
Common. Baby.
Asleep.
Kindness.
Selling.
And then we'll read from why. I'm going to raise it up. All the way down to Jesus. Offering.
Believe.
Why?
Believe.
coffee,
God,
in any person,
because,
we're going to read from I'm certain all the way down to any more.
Strangest.
Dismissed,
time,
Overlooked. Good.
story,
too good,
too common,
Relate.
more than ever,
for a spell,
Can't.
we need it,
anymore. I'm going to raise it up now to in a world, all the way down to conversations. Especially kindness,
Fear.
Mistrust.
Bruise.
correction,
Pickpockets.
narrative,
kindness,
Yes.
carries,
Relations.
apprehension,
especially kindness,
needing direction,
fleeced,
exception,
Kind strangers.
here,
direction, let the two words be there together. You don't have to apologize for that or think that's the wrong thing. That's just a part of the symphony. We're now starting from that's why all the way down to cup of coffee. Let the eyes just roam across the words, see what resonates, call it out.
Kindness,
Anchoring.
complicate,
Temptation.
Offer.
faith,
coffee,
Lord
Wait,
knows,
Multiple,
Sabbath moment,
bottle up,
Enough.
love,
per se,
making space,
teach,
now from Sarah's story all the way down to meaning of life in the parentheses there. Just let the eye roam. Call out what the eye lands on. It's not accidental. Rooting,
Every bit of life.
Space.
I'm okay,
Trickier.
present,
what is
she
wrong,
described,
recurrent,
Presence.
informed,
Importance.
certain,
nothing more to offer,
Meaning of life.
horrible,
making space,
nurse,
rooting,
appointments,
what
The
is
moment
wrong,
they are most needed.
nothing more,
love,
understands,
hospitality,
Beautiful, continuing. Now from I'm loving high all the way down to will help immensely. That's like 2 paragraphs.
Netflix,
Present,
inviting someone in,
Space.
Able.
series,
reminder,
Stretching.
Raise.
Resilience.
Heavy.
calm,
Mend.
Invitation.
task,
Come on in.
Poor,
poor,
poor suffering world.
Fixing.
heavy,
You wouldn't
Just-
say.
Stretching.
healing,
Resilience.
calm,
Invitation.
Fixing.
come on in,
Out.
Space.
Raise your hand.
transformed,
Wholeheartedly.
beautiful. I can feel the rhythm beginning to happen. Here we go, all the way from we offer coffee down to just misgiving,
space,
Space.
Base.
space,
wholeheartedly,
Welcome.
Hope.
Give
Comfort.
wholeheartedly.
We.
world of disquiet,
Love.
reprieve,
Sanctuary.
space,
Coaching.
Pain.
now from that certainly all the way down to good coincidence,
sugarcoat,
Lord have mercy,
upbeat,
Injury.
Enough.
wholeheartedly,
Coaching.
pain,
enough,
Potential.
Glad.
Space.
Gladness.
Hope.
mercy,
Grief or sadness.
space,
Potential.
Gladness.
injury,
Grief.
we'll do one more. This is in her book, all the way down to at a time, Sabbath,
Mystery.
God stopped,
Create.
consider,
Meaningful.
Remembering.
Worth creating.
underestimate,
Remember.
remember,
touch,
Kind.
Talk to remember.
at a time,
Honest.
Stop.
turn a light,
Power of a touch. Smile.
smallest act,
Caring.
Honest compliment.
creating,
come on in,
Exactly.
Today.
honest compliment,
1 cup,
We need today.
First place.
Meaningful.
Beautiful. Let's sit. You can place yourselves back on mute. Disrupted quite so much. Although technically there is no disruption, is there, in the practice? So setting the body, letting those words resonate through you. We're not trying to organize, we're not trying to order. We're letting the reality of this moment, this life, and its unfolding. We're entrusting that. As Gregory says, we entrust the symphony, the sound, the resonance of the present moment. We are at the precipice of our life, each breath, each moment, arriving as completely as we can right here. We're just creating that field, that space of awareness, allowing whatever words that were resonant and are now particularly resonant to just play with you. We're just going to allow them to waft in, be present in the field, find their way out. Just see what happens. What's true right now in this body? What is the condition of the body as you're sitting? Alert, attentive, distracted, restless? Energized? Sluggish? Just checking in. As we're touching into this body sitting, saying yes, receiving this body exactly as it is. Seeing if we can settle in, drop a little bit more into the direct experience of the body. Which is resonant itself with those words, with that symphony. We don't have to think a thing. It's alive right here in this body. See what's true. Awareness, greeting the experience of the body. And together, inviting embodied presence. And there's nothing to do. No need to be some other way, no need to create or graft on anything at all. The way the body is right now, let it be. Make contact, breathe it in. Know this body as the body. And to truly know the body, we have to let go of the storyline, the preferencing, the opinions, the bias, the narrative. We are training at this very moment at being fully present, not clutching at the pleasant or avoiding the unpleasant, but opening completely to it all. A long breath or a short one. This invitation is to open with equanimity, to open with receptivity, with an open heart, mind, to whatever is arising in the field of this body, mind. And to know it. Can we invite not only recognition, but our loving kindness? Can we greet whatever arises, as Rumi says, at the door? Can we greet it at the door laughing? I would say a simple smile is enough. And with embodied presence, just like with embodied metta, we open not only with the recognition of the mind, which I think in some way we like to use as a distancing device frequently, like I see it from here, it over there, but rather recognize and embody means allow the experience as completely as you can. I have a little bit of a racing heart as an example. I'm just letting it race. Feeling the energy of that. And then beyond the recognition, we can invite those phrases, that impulse, that opening of the heart. To whatever is arising, this racing heart, for example. And you can offer that phrase if that feels right for you. You can hold it with kindness. May this heart be well. I like to begin with the direct body experience. You might notice the impact of the metta phrases on that particular part of the body. Sticking with that particular sensation for at least 3 to 5 breaths. And then if you choose, you can open back into the larger field or framework of the body and see what else is resonant there. See if you can open and greet it, whether it is pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. See if we can turn towards it with the same energy, the same virya, joyful effort, the same commitment. Knowing this body is the body, this breath. The kindness is in the direct making contact, regardless of preference. This is unconditioned. It is then in the willingness to stay, to abide the experience, like it or not, pleasant or not. This is a certain kind of radical kindness. Working directly against that brain stem that grabs at the good and pushes away the bad. And then not only do we make contact and stay, we move closer. We get more friendly, more intimate. We inquire more deeply. We listen more intently. What does this body have to tell you this moment about this life? And about your relationship to it. And just as we open to this body and body sensations with metta, with kindness, with a loving embrace, we can open to thoughts, expanding that field of awareness. And of the kind heart. Letting thoughts be thoughts. Letting them be. With kindness, with care, with interest. We don't try to get rid of them. We don't push them away. We don't judge them. We create that field of metta, letting them each belong and each have their place. Just seeing what comes. Thoughts about the day, thoughts about the tasks, thoughts about the practice, thoughts about the self, it doesn't matter. Letting a thought be a thought. Recognizing, accepting, opening, and offering metta. Bringing an essential friendliness to each thought. After recognizing the thought, opening to the thought, breathing that thought into awareness, we drop back into the body just to feel the full effect of that thought. See what resonates there, just like those words. opening to body sensations and thoughts, we can then open to include emotions. Maybe a curiosity and interest, boredom, maybe a certain weariness, anxiety, a distress, maybe a disappointment, maybe a sorrow, a grief, a sadness. Touch in, feel what's there. The emotion is informed by the body sensations and the thought. See if you can invite it also into the field of metta, creating space and room for whatever arises here. Each aspect of experience informs the other. And so if you get a particularly strong physical sense, open to include what thoughts might be arising. You can open to see what emotions might be at play. As an example, I just felt a little bit of a squeeze in the upper chest. I felt a curiosity about that. And then I immediately clicked into the thought, I don't have time for this. I have a very busy day. And in staying with that, I could feel the emotion of impatience and a little anxiety, a lot to do today. I could feel the sense of the mind rushing forward. I could invite it right back here. We're not trying to change the experience. We're not trying to get rid of or make different. We're trying to open with kindness, with care, with compassion. Can I be with, breathe with, and hold myself right here in this little bit of energized, contracted body, these racing thoughts, and this worry, distress, anxiety, impatience, whatever's here. One of the greatest acts of embodied metta is the holding of ourselves in our own discomfort, in our own insecurity, in our own distress. Can we invite them in? As Rumi says, even though they are a band of strangers sweeping our house with its furniture, can we smile and invite them in? This is essential metta. And then we can practice with not only what arises spontaneously. For just a moment, we're going to recollect a difficulty, a challenge, a moment of aggression, ill will, reluctance, resistance, rejection. Just calling one to mind. Something fairly workable. Let's see if we can hold it across these three spheres, recollecting in the mind. Might be in interaction with another. It might be one with yourself. I'm going to stick with my own impatience. As I'm recollecting those thoughts, I don't have time for this. I wonder what time it is. I've got these things to do. I'm dropping back into the body, breathing down, opening to that, recognizing thoughts, and seeing the impact on this body sitting here. With kindness, I invite them in, I breathe them in. Feeling the squeeze, the tightness, the bracing energy, whatever's present there. Maybe for you, sluggishness and numbness. Disconnect, it's all fun. Breathing in. Feel its vibration in the whole of the body. Holding it in that field of metta. grounding into the body. Be the body opening to include whatever is present there. Recognizing thoughts as thoughts. We can open them to the particular emotion, or sometimes called afflictive emotion. And as we breathe into and with, as we bear witness, as we let be, let in whatever emotion is here, this is a real opportunity to offer those phrases of metta, of goodwill, a way of staying open, a way of drawing close, rather than pushing away or falling into the storyline. May I recognize this emotion, this impatience, aggression, this frustration, annoyance, helplessness, whatever's here. May I recognize this as an emotion? May I hold it with kindness? May I invite it in so that it is no longer a stranger. May I see its true nature, not permanent, not reliable, not me. And may I soften and open. May I welcome and let it go. Offering these phrases of loving kindness. May I be filled with loving kindness. peaceful and at ease. And may I be happy. And for a last moment, just like me, may I open and offer metta to all those just like me who feel this and know this too. May you be filled with loving kindness. And may you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. And may you be happy. Opening the heart of metta beyond me, beyond others who know this, to include all beings who have experienced no afflictive emotion. May we all be filled with loving kindness. And may we all be well. May we all be peaceful and at ease. May we all be happy. And may this practice today contribute. May it be so. And continuing that embodied friendliness by being gentle as we move from the practice to the discussion. pull the that document back. And see if we can just take a moment I sent this out ahead of time. So there were a few questions that I invited, and then the practice itself today, those are any or all of those things might be interesting discussion or share topics. But why don't we start with this idea of opening to everything. And the example here really was of Sarah opening to a person with a very different orientation, perspective, tradition, way of being, belief system, whatever, however we define the other. And her practice, as described here, of letting them in, and then not only letting them in, but letting them in with friendliness, letting them in and offering, I think, was coffee or a cup of tea. It's been described, of course, that friendliness is described in all of those ways, isn't it? This letting them in and inviting fellowship, inviting the reality of our shared humanness beyond the difference, to open to the inclusion, the parts that are different as well as the parts that are the same, and that we acknowledge maybe both. So let's talk about this. One of two ways I decided to focus today in the practice then on that part of ourselves that we reject. Because we know that if we are rejecting, if we are diminishing, if we are judgmental, then we are going to, without clear seeing, without recognition, without awareness, do that very thing with others. And then, of course, we very quite easily, and I know this for myself, buy into the storyline that they something. But I actually am very clear now that I have first myself severed, cut off, judged, or separated myself and that aspect of myself from my own awareness and my own kindness. So I'm wondering if anybody has any thoughts about that, any recognition of today, just making contact. I started to laugh at my own impatience today as I made contact with it, because probably one of my biggest criticisms of my husband is his impatience. And it was a chuckle, because there I was noticing my own and going, yeah, there it is, that unwillingness, that resistance, that reluctance to just be with that first has made it very easy for me to project that onto another and then say, gosh, you're always in such a hurry. And really how to make contact with that, this just today with myself.
That's funny. This is probably revealing, but when I was reading the story, the first thing that came to my mind before I looked at it as a metaphor was, you can't let a stranger into your house. And then I realized that, that probably sums it up, literally and figuratively.
You have to keep those things out there
Uh-huh.
behind that locked door. Yeah, that locked door of my own contracted body.
Right.
Locked door of my own heart, right? That locked door of that other that we construct. Then really, this is what's amazing for me, Kelly, is we create in some interesting way, the thief or the monster or with our own rejection resistance. It doesn't mean, however, folks, that we don't get to be skillful, right? Or wise or safe. That's not what we're saying. It means we often perceive both the other and these aspects of ourselves, which Kelly is so beautifully pointing to, as dangerous, as the problem, as right, and all the more then rather than inform ourselves about the truth of impatience, is in my example, we reject, push off. I think it's so important that we see this, Kelly. I'm so glad that you were able to make contact with that, not only in the metaphor, but as you're saying, I think so lovingly and wisely, that aspect of ourselves that pushes things away, keeps them out and off. And that really this is everything but skillful, everything but wise, everything but kind, and actually has consequences, doesn't it? That we become strangers, I think, in some really striking way to ourselves, right? The stranger we're locking out is actually more often ourselves. And can we feel that as we make contact? Did anybody notice as they made contact with whatever that distress, discomfort, avoided, not wanted thing was? Did anybody notice what happened as we just held it, breathed it, stayed close? What did you notice?
I could speak.
Hello.
Hi. I had two different relationships. The first one was, giving myself love to that as if it's like my, inner child or your child, whatever, another persona that you're loving. But which was beautiful. And then I found myself singing Thich Nhat Hanh's metta song to it. And it was just relaxing. And then instead of I was doing it to it, I was being it then. And that was the next level, which was really good. So it wasn't like coming from my highest state, may I be filled with loving kindness and all that. It's coming from that place that is very vulnerable. And having done it in the first way, it gave me an opportunity to go so much deeper into to a different place of really being it, and then giving it to myself, the loving kindness, and receiving it. So I felt like both of these are simultaneously happening, and both having metta is different from each other, and it works so well in both ways. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that made sense when
Yes. Yeah, very much so. It no longer stays other or it or over there or in its separate manifestation at all. It all becomes a part of the one. The one heart of metta that holds everything and offers itself to itself.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, very much so. In the oneness and the unity, these kinds of words that we don't always use, but are really the closest I think we come to describing this, Leslie, this ineffable reality of no longer separated, no longer disconnected, no longer in unbelonging or right, just a part of the wholeness of life experience, And
Yeah.
then our anger, for example, our ill will, our judgments, our pain, our helplessness, it doesn't matter anymore. We no longer keep it off. The efforting for, as Kelly was saying, keeping that the stranger falls away, and we don't have to waste so much time and energy, do we? We can simply be with whatever that is, my own impatience that I am smiling at this morning. And I'm so grateful. I noticed the shift into gratitude, that I could see that, so that I could honor it. And not only then in myself, where it must begin, but then also in my husband, upon whom I have projected it.
Right.
Both, and this is what invites that peaceable world and a peaceable heart. But we must begin, as we're talking about, with both recognizing our own rejection, resistance, refusal, as well as then holding that as something slightly still other. It's so beautifully described by you both. And then that really opening to, I am that, this is me. It is not only me, holding it for ourselves and others. And that's a big, beautiful piece of our path. Thank you.
And thank you. And I wanted to mention one other thing about the stranger. When I had my school for little kids, I had whole packets that I was supposed to use to teach the children to be afraid of strangers. It was, make sure if you see this, and I just couldn't deliver it. Because everyone, they're little kids. Everyone's going to be the stranger. That means they're going to be looking at anyone as potentially dangerous to them. And so it's a strange thing that the culture wants to create that. And maybe all cultures do in some way. The other.
The other. Mhm.
Right.
Right, that tribal, that I guess we could call it tribalism. Those who have hair like you and eyes like you and walk like you and have language like you, and is safer than not. And I suppose at the brainstem level, right, there is an essential reality. But it is not absolute. And in fact, of course, it's dangerous, isn't it, when we make it so? Because then the world gets small. Because now I can only be with people who are that and this, and we already struggle, don't we? Because we don't understand truly, from a different culture, from a different orientation. My son, as an example of this, came home and was talking about his roommate, who's a female, who he is very close to, and who was recently in a relationship with someone, and the relationship went bad. And he said, very unknowingly, and of course, this has not been related to him throughout his life, but he'd heard this and was quickly holding it. He said, yeah, well, this person said, well, he's Muslim, and all Muslim men want to be controlling of their women, of their wives. And I was like, look how easy it is. Look how easy it is to fall in, to buy in. And he just heard it and was repeating it that quickly. Like, oh yeah, I guess this must be true. And we had a long talk about, perception and differences, and how our own job is to open, and what was his experience. And, was it like that or different than that? He doesn't have much experience. And so that helped him just fall into the belief that it must be true that all some things are a certain way. And of course, look at how easily we do this now in our political climate, in a evolutional path that we go, that's not workable. Or and yes, it is true that causing harm to another is not skillful, is not helpful. And how we hold that and ultimately hope to heal that will not come out of furthering ill will and anger. Though we must also hold that and understand that too. Right? That's the work. How do I hold that fear, that distress, that anxiety, that child for myself? And this is a big piece of our everyday, every moment practice. How do we do this? And I believe we do it first by recognizing those moments, those resonant moments of feelings of separation or feelings of judgment, feelings of disconnect, and that we don't keep pushing them away as unacceptable. We, I think, have to hold them close with deep metta, so that, as Leslie said, they can relax. And in that relaxing, open to see what is most true. Right, this is the. Any other thoughts about this? This is big for me. It's something I'm working on fairly continuously, beginning in the body, by the way. Beginning in the body. I just try to, rather than what about that and how come that knee's tense, or can I befriend really my experience in the body, just as the body. And then we can open and include thoughts. And this trajectory is not accidental, just so you know. It is not wise or seen as wise to necessarily run right to emotions. They can be overpowering and overwhelming, and their storylines can be well entrenched. And so it is a suggestion that we begin in the body itself, noticing sensation as sensation, and holding that with openness and kindness, and then moving to thoughts. And then in the amalgam of that, opening to emotions. So hopefully that trajectory made that a little bit helpful. Other thoughts before we get ready to sign off? Yes, Lynn, I think I saw a hand. You might have been waving goodbye, I'm not sure. Anyone else? So let's just take another moment. Rumi's Guest House, if you don't know that particular writing, is a beautiful example of befriending, of holding, of embracing all aspects of ourselves and the other. It's a beautiful description of letting them in, holding them close, and pacifying. It's not to get rid of, but pacifying the affliction so that we can see clearly. So let's just sit for another moment together. Thank you all for that beautiful insight, dialogue process. Inviting that stillness and that spaciousness. Resting the heart mind there. gathering ourselves and our attention. And then offering the merits of this practice today, wherever it is most needed. May we all be happy. May we all be healthy of body and mind. May we all be free from stress. Seeing clearly the path to happiness. And then may we set the intention to live that through thought, word, and deed. Making this a very good day. So be. Thank you all. Blessings to all. It's lovely to share this with you. If you have a particular article about this length, I think this is probably most digestible. A couple paragraphs, I think, is a little bit better, probably than something too long. We'll just be sharing that and going over it every Tuesday for the summer. I will be in retreat, personal retreat here at Quest Haven, July 28th through August 7th. You will be getting information about that. People are welcome to come up and sit silently with me during that time. I would love to have you. We'll keep mentioning that and then offering instructions for that as we get closer. And remember that Monday, we have 2 more Mondays evenings, and then we will be stopping those Monday evenings for the summer while I'm traveling and having family come visit, and then we'll take that up again in the fall. And so those are the kind of little changes. And we have tomorrow our delivery to St. Andrews food pantry. I have bought extra food to be delivered. Thank you to those of you who sent money for that. That was great. It worked out. It's already been delivered to Carrie. If you want to make that donation, please do that. Just identify that so that we know that that's for food pantry. And we will make sure that that money is directed in that way. Carrie is delivering that tomorrow morning. So we do not have, for those of you who were hoping they had till noon tomorrow, it's too close for her. So she's going to get it there in the morning before she goes off to work. So please, if you have items, please get them to Carrie or Greg. And if you need addresses, just let me know. I'm happy to share that with you. Everyone have a beautiful day. Thank you for your contribution, your goodness, and your presence in it. And I'll look forward to seeing you this Saturday at 7:30. Greg will be here Thursday at 7. Everyone be well. I'll look forward to seeing you soon.